Well, it's a nice way to start your Monday off with a little methane gas leak doom. The people left. SoCal Gas is the company responsible, and essentially are reimbursing people who had to leave their homes to get away from this toxic gas. And now they're saying, well, we pretty much capped it and everything's cool, so you guys can come back. So people are coming back and getting this crazy rash, still feeling nauseous, all kinds of problems. Which is interesting to me, because if the gas leak is stopped, and it's been stopped for, several weeks now? And now they're coming back. There shouldn't be some kind of residual, like methane, hanging around. That stuff doesn't just stick around like that. So the question is that I have, what else came up in that gas leak besides methane? That's my question. And as I'm reading this story from Zero Hedge, they talk about the government essentially says to any healthcare doctors or whatever, you probably don't want to test for toxicology. You're wasting your time with that, so just skip that one and do other tests. Which says what to me? I need a toxicology test ASAP. That's what that tells me. On February 18th, SoCal Gas and the national media declared the worst methane gas leak in U.S. history permanently sealed, right? So today, it's the 27th of March. You're going to see this on the 28th of March. That is more than a month ago, plus 10 days. The national media declared it's permanently sealed. But just over a month later, hundreds of Porter Ranch residents who evacuated and are now returning to home are suffering the same symptoms they suffered when the gas leak was active. And again, you got to understand something. Methane doesn't just hang around like that. It doesn't just sit still. It just dissipates off, goes up in the atmosphere anyways. So why would you come back a month later and instantly have the same sickness and symptoms you had before while the gas leak was active? Naturally, you'd say, well, something that must have came out of that gas leak other than methane that is able to stick to stuff, and we put our bodies back into that area, and the stuff is messing with us. Now, I'm not going to go and say this is like nuclear or radiation, type of stuff. Although, if you do look at some of the symptoms, which I'll describe to you here, it does fit a few of those, but not going to go there yet. They're experiencing nausea, dizziness, fatigue, headaches, nosebleeds, and many, including children, are also experiencing a new ailment: irritated skin rashes across their bodies. And if you want to know what that looks like, I went and took a little, save this picture. I didn't take the picture. Save this picture for you to look at. So you imagine being gone in a hotel or wherever you stayed for, a couple months. And then you come back. You don't have any of these symptoms. You're good to go. You come back a month plus later, 40 days later, and this is what you're experiencing, and the gas leak is absolutely stopped. You don't smell anything, right? Because no one's coming back saying, oh, I smell this horrible gas. Nope, you don't smell it anymore. So, again, what is it? What exactly is this? So it says neither SoCal Gas, which owns the Aliso Canyon facility, the Los Angeles County Department of Public Health, nor any other government agency has provided a concrete explanation for these continued symptoms. In fact, one of Los Angeles County's top medical officials recently told physicians to refrain from performing tests to determine what is causing the symptoms. That, to me, says we don't want to find out. In other words, if it's like radiation, because think about what else could it be that would be very worrisome, aside from radiation. I can't really come up with really anything else other than radiation poisoning. But again, I can't say that yet. So this is last Late last week, preliminary lab tests from an independent UCLA study found evidence of benzene, a carcinogen, in at least 2 Porter Ranch homes. Okay, so we're getting somewhere. Benzene was reported to have been released in the 100 metric tons of methane that spewed into the Los Angeles basin for 4 months, a fact SoCalGas previously attempted to downplay and withhold. Reemergence of symptoms. On March 4th, Los Angeles County Council member Mitch Englinger issued a press release reporting the Department of Health had received at least 150 complaints of reemerging symptoms, including nosebleeds, dizziness, headaches, nausea, and skin rashes. Now the health department says it has received 300 more complaints since then, and since they began moving back into their homes after they were told it was safe to do so. Many residents have said the rashes, which can be extensive, are new and did not occur during the initial months-long gas leak from October to February. So even while it was going on, they didn't have some of these, especially the rash symptom, and then they come back and all of a sudden they do. During that time, thousands of families were evacuated, and the Department of Public Health received 700 health complaints. Others reported experiencing skin irritation before they relocated, though it appears to be more widespread now. Residents who left Porter Ranch for temporary housing accommodations and recently moved home told Anti-Media about their symptoms. Many still have not moved home, fearful it is still unsafe. Helen Reitner, a Porter Ranch resident who left the area in December, said within 2 days of returning to their house, she and her family began feeling sick. The main symptoms are headaches, difficulty breathing, watery eyes, coughing, and general fatigue. It feels like I'm in a thick fog of sorts that's oppressive. Excuse me, Miss Reitner, that oppressive feeling, that's not from the gas. That's the way our country's heading with our federal government. That's the oppressive feeling. So, let's scratch that off for you. She and her husband were not eager to return home, still concerned about toxins in the area and the health of their newborn baby. But amid long delays receiving reimbursements from SoCalGas and unable to charge more expenses on their credit card, they moved back to Porter Ranch. Reitner told Anti-Media that, like many other families, she and her husband have had to pay out of pocket for relocation services and have experienced long delays receiving reimbursement checks. Gabrielle Canlian, a resident who serves as the Chief Technology Officer for Save Porter Ranch, a group formed in 2014 to fight the massive aging and leaking facility before the blowout even happened, also said he and his family have suffered symptoms since moving home. My daughter Tatiana keeps getting large rashes, red welts, and bumps all over her body. Her skin is dry, and her behavior has changed significantly, and she is very cranky. She has had a loss of appetite and is sleeping a lot more. My sons Jaden and Mason have been getting bloody noses, headaches, upset stomachs, burning eyes, runny nose, dry skin. Wow. When I go home, this is another person. When I go home to pick up stuff or do a few things, within a few minutes, I start having a dull headache and coughing and having palpitations. Nosebleeds follow later on often. My partner has had headaches, fatigue, and a burning sensation in his chest at the same time I have. Our cat has had a nosebleed and vomited. When I am away from home, the headache goes away instantly. The cough and nosebleed stay for a while and then are gone there afterwards. So, residents in surrounding areas, including Chatsworth and Granada Hills, have also reported a reemergence of symptoms. Sandy Crawford, a resident of Granada Hills, told CBS News in February, after the methane gas leak was sealed, that within a few hours of returning home, her youngest son had trouble breathing and suffered a nosebleed. Crawford moved her sons back to their hotel, and after trying again to move home and experiencing the same results, second time, she returned to the hotel for a second time. She told Anti-Media that they recently tried sleeping at home for a few nights and did not feel symptoms, but she remains afraid that they could return. As a result, she is staying at the hotel. Though these symptoms are pronounced, neither SoCalGas nor the Department of Public Health has offered an explanation, etc. In fact, Dr. Cyrus Rangan, director of the Bureau of Toxicology and Environmental Assessment at the Los Angeles County Department of Public Health, recently issued a health update to primary care, urgent care, internal medicine, and emergency medicine providers in the area, cautioning them against conducting tests on patients with symptoms. The advisory dated Tuesday, March 8th, requested that healthcare professionals, quote, look for alternative etiologies other than air contamination and avoid performing any toxicology tests, claiming these are not recommended and are unlikely to provide useful data for clinical evaluation of patients. Rangan said in the notice that if no alternative etiology is found, doctors should consult with him. While it is an indisputable act of due diligence to recommend doctors check for other potential causes of symptoms, it is unclear why a top public health official would discourage doctors from performing tests to better understand illnesses among their patients. It's not to steer the community away from thinking it's not an environmental issue, Rangan insisted to the Los Angeles Daily News, adding that as the local newspaper summarized, even when the gas was leaking, he did not recommend that doctors perform toxicology tests because there was no test that can determine if a person was exposed to natural gas. Okay, we get that. But the gas leak has stopped. It has been, quote unquote, sealed, and there's no smell, no nothing, nothing happening. Now, I know normally when you're dealing with natural gas, propane, etc., they have to add that little chemical to make it like smell like rotten eggs so that you can actually smell it. And I know that was the case. But my question actually is, at the gas well, during the entire time gas was leaking, how were they able to continuously pump that rotten egg stuff, whatever that stuff is, sulfur, some kind of sulfur, something or another, I'm sure, into there so that it essentially warns people that there's a problem? Because if this is an underground leak that happened, were they just pumping that smell along with it at the same time? So, which brings me up to another question. Assuming that's what they were doing, is it possible that there's still a leak over there? It's still methane, except people are breathing it in and they don't know it because you can't smell it, you can't taste it, you have no idea it's there unless that nasty, rotten gas stuff is added to it. Which would make me ask another question. Is there another gas leak? Or maybe what was in conjunction with that one? Or is that one still leaking? And they said, yeah, everything's good, but it's not really good. And the rotten egg smell isn't there because they quit pumping that stuff in with it. I don't know. So we have a couple of things here. This benzene stuff, how the hell does it get in these people's houses and just stay there? Just from a gas leak, first of all. And second of all, is this thing actually still leaking? And again, without the smell. So that's the problem. People are breathing this in. As the old saying goes, don't light a match. Because that could be absolutely devastating if it's still leaking. So I still find that it would be absurd for any health official to tell other people don't test for these things. Because just because a gas leak happened, you as the health officials say, well, they couldn't contain this thing for a while and it was looking like they wouldn't be able to at all, and then they said they did it. Just to be safe, maybe, did this gas leak cause any other issues? Was there some underground issues, something else happening? Just to be safe, I think we ought to test for everything. I mean, would that hurt? No. As you say, in the statement, he referred to the continued illnesses as, quote, perplexing, proceeding to offer potential explanations not previously disclosed to anti-media when he spoke with us. It could be that there are persistent levels of contaminants still present in the community, or there could be other exposures in the area of the community that were missed in the external environmental monitoring, or perhaps gases may have saturated the soil at the Allison Canyon facility or other substrates and are being released now that the source has been sealed. So let me think about this for a second. Another scenario, they sealed it off in that spot, but there's so much pressure down there, it's going up through cracks or whatever, crevices throughout the earth, up to the top. I'm not sure how deep that thing was, up to the top, and maybe it's seeping all over the damn place. That's a possibility. And again, you're not going to get a warning smell from that. You're just going to experience the dizziness, the headaches, all that stuff. So again, while I can't, say anything about this being radiation or, that type of thing, it's always a possibility. You never know. But again, why would that even come from underground? Unless, again, there's some kind of facility nearby and they had we were digging a big trench, 50 years ago, and that's where we were dumping some radioactive stuff, and we built a housing development on top of it. We didn't think anyone, some nonsense like that. I don't think so. To me, this says this leak ain't done with. Now, you will recall the WebBot did say that gas leak was going to go on, and we hadn't seen the last of it. But that was many, many months ago when they first originally thought they had it taken care of, and then they realized they couldn't. WebBot already made the prediction. So then when they realized, okay, we were not able to stop it. We tried and we can't. That was already a WebBot hit. Then they finally got it. However, if it's actually still going on or seeping through the earth and coming up, mega WebBot hit. I've got to go. Take care.